performance, and then what, if anything, ports, now 3 years later?
Yeah, obviously a completely different team. There's probably still a few guys there, Harrison, Eric, and Barr, maybe a couple of guys in D-line, but it's a completely different team, and I'm sure they're doing a lot of different stuff defensively now than they were then. But yeah, it was a good night for me, and a lot of fun, no doubt. It was one of those nights where you just kind of can't miss, and yeah, it was a fun one.
When you look at the film now, do you see a lot of the same, I guess, pressure principles that Zimmer likes to kind of show pre-snap?
So he's got his stuff that he's liked to do for a long time, of course, but at the same time, they're an evolving defense every year, and it's still early in this season, so they're still evolving, and I'm sure being a division opponent, they'll have something for us, and we'll see what that is. But with him, it's an aggressive style defense, and they want to be that way, and yeah.
Sort of re-emphasizing short yardage and figuring out what works for you guys, what doesn't, after some of the struggles you guys have had, putting more periods of practice about that. So what did you learn, be it on film or out here in practice, that may help you guys going forward in situations?
About
short yardage plays and kind of what works, what doesn't, and why you guys.
Yeah, I think just practicing some new ideas. I mean, what works and what doesn't. Typically, it's just execution. We haven't had bad plays called, just executing them how we want to. We've jumped off sides a couple times, so it's not like we need to reinvent the wheel, but just a little better execution, a little bit more focus on the details.
So many things have to go right for a play to go right. How frustrating has it been that sometimes you have time and no one's open? Sometimes someone's open and you just miss them. Like, it just seems like things have not clicked in those two ways.
Yeah, I mean, there are times where that happens to be frustrated. I don't know if that's happened too often this year, but sure, there's times where you'd like to have somebody there and there isn't, and there's times where I'll miss a guy, so that's just part of the game.
You've got a long injury list, and it's going to impact on you. What do you do to compensate for some of the guys or the changes that have been made?
Nothing. We've got backups for a reason. We got guys out here that we trust, and specifically, I think Evan stepped in last week, did a good job. Obviously, we want Frank back as soon as possible, but Evan's done a decent job stepping in, as well as Panay and Matt Nelson for Taylor, and it's been a good thing to have guys that you trust there in those positions.
Is communication an issue then? Is that the guys who haven't played a lot?
It better not be, right? That's why they're there. That's why we practice every day, and that's why we trust these guys to step in when we need them to.
This last game was the best for your receivers, with Quintez, Amon-Ra, and Khalif all, really kind of having maybe their best performances. How important is that connection with your outside options to really opening up the full potential of this offense?
Yeah, it's extremely important, and we want to get those guys going as much as we want to get Swift and TJ going, right? Those are our dudes, but we want to get Q and Leaf and TB and Cadero and Saint, all these guys going as well, and get them their touches. And I thought last week what Khalif did, both in the pass game and the run game, was his best game so far. So seeing him build off that this week will be fun, and he's just a guy that continues to work hard and deserves those opportunities.
Dan said he feels you guys are close, even though the record says you're 0-4. How much can a win instill even more confidence to a group that seems fairly confident despite the 4 losses?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, my rookie year, we were on a tough team, and it seemed like as the season went on and we lost more games, you start going like this mentally a little bit, right? And I was young and I didn't really know any better. But here it doesn't feel that way. We have lost 4 in a row, but we do feel like we are improving. We are doing the right things in practice. We are making plays in the game. How can we make them more often? How can we eliminate those mistakes I spoke about after the game? How can we stop beating ourselves? Really, is the bottom line, and we're getting there. And it's always a day at a time. It's always one practice at a time. But I believe in these guys. I believe in Dan. I believe in our coaches, and believe that the pop will happen. And from there, to answer your question, hopefully the momentum starts from there. Yeah.
How important is getting a victory just to have that reward? Like everyone buys in to get that.
It's very important. I think anytime you can feel the reward of the hard work and the reward of doing the right things in practice, you're incentivized to continue to do it. But I think that's been the most encouraging thing about our group so far is that we haven't tasted that reward, and we're still doing the right things and still chopping wood. And again, it's never a moral victory, but we have the right guys, which is the encouraging part.
Jared, in the second half, the team shows a lot of fight, coming from behind. But in the first, last 2 games, held scoreless in the first half, and then 3 out of the first quarters, in the last couple of games, held scoreless. What do you think is going to be needed to take that next step to, get some points on the board and start out fast?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's obviously execution and just being, I think, intentional about starting fast. To answer your question, we've put ourselves in a hole 2 weeks in a row and have crawled back, but close but no cigar, right? Just haven't been able to finish it. And being intentional about, hey guys, we have to start fast, and even with the younger group we may have, making sure that they know how important that is, and I think we do. It's just a matter of being ready and executing.
Jared, can you elaborate a little bit more on the difference between maybe your rookie year and now, the emotional or mental decline you experienced then versus why maybe things are more positive and upbeat despite the record right now? Do you have a sense of maybe the source of that positivity?
I think it's just the group of guys we have, and that's not to negate the people I was with in my rookie year. We had a great group. It's just sometimes teams go one way and sometimes they go the other, and I think at least at this point I can say we haven't gone that way and have had that mentality, and obviously it's probably a credit to what Dan's done with us and just the belief in each other and the leaders on this team, and it goes a long way when you're going through some hard times. So it's been the encouraging part of all this.
Something about where this organization is in the building stages, I guess, too. That
I'm sure, yeah, of course, right? Yeah, and we're young. It's natural to be a little more excited when you're young, but at the same time, again, I keep saying it, but it's the people, it's the guys, it's the players, it's the coaches, it's the daily messaging, it's the leaders, it's how hard we work at practice. All that stuff is intentional and leads to the results that we will eventually get. It just it's encouraging to see that in a time where you could go the other way very easily, and the adversity is hitting us hard, and you could go that way, but we haven't.
All right,
Thank you guys.
Sorry.